Have you ever heard a story about a jinn? If you have, you will likely enjoy this movie's unique twist on the jinn and human relationship. The film offers a special and touching look at their love story. So, without wasting any more time, let's dive into today's story. At the start of the story, a professor named Alethea was shown traveling to Istanbul by plane to give a lecture. When she arrived in Istanbul and left the airport, a strange, short man approached her and started helping with her luggage. Alethea found this very odd and couldn't understand what was happening. Before she could react, her friends appeared and she met them. As Alethea got into the car to leave the airport, she kept thinking about the stranger and told her friends about him, but they couldn't understand what she meant. One of her friends joked that since they were in Istanbul, maybe a jinn was following her, which made everyone laugh and dismiss Alethea's concern. After a long journey, Alethea reached the place where she was supposed to give a seminar. There, she and her friends spoke about natural disasters happening around the world. Everything seemed fine until, during her lecture, Alethea felt that a strange person was staring at her. Someone who looked more like a ghost than a man. She began to worry that he might harm her, but before she could do anything, the stranger attacked her, causing Alethea to become very frightened and faint. Her friends quickly came to her aid and took her away from there. Now we learn that Alethea wasn't well and often saw things that didn't exist and that no one else could see. Alethea was troubled by her condition. The next day, she decided to explore Istanbul. While wandering around, she noticed a very old antique shop with a large collection of ancient items. Among them, she found a beautiful and old bottle. The shopkeeper told her that the bottle had a unique feature, sometimes bled. He praised the bottle a lot to sell it, but Alethea didn't believe him. She thought it was impossible for a bottle to bleed. Being a professor, Alethea was always eager to learn new things. She became curious to find out if the bottle could really bleed, so she bought it and took it back to her hotel. After arriving, Alethea first took a shower and then, still thinking about the bottle, she decided to clean it before starting her research. But when she looked at the bottle, she became frightened. As she cleaned it and opened the lid, something strange emerged from the bottle. Seemed like a powerful energy. Alethea was confused and didn't understand what was happening. The energy began to grow, and it turned out to be a jinn. The jinn became very large after coming out of the bottle, but Alethea thought it might just be her imagination, so she ignored it. The jinn was surprised when he saw that Alethea wasn't scared of him. He found it strange because everyone who had seen him before was terrified, but Alethea seemed unfazed. Then, the jinn noticed the TV. Having been trapped in the bottle for 100 years, the modern world looked very strange to him. He saw a video of Albert Einstein playing on the TV and thought that Alethea might be a witch who had imprisoned Einstein inside the box. TV. So, the jinn tried to free Einstein from the TV. Alethea then explained to him that it was all because of science, and the TV was a part of that science. She started to explain the concept of the electromagnetic field, but the jinn interrupted, saying that he already knew about it, and that he was made of electromagnetic energy himself. The jinn then asked Alethea who she was, and why she wasn't afraid of him. Alethea told him she was a professor, and the reason she wasn't scared was because of a condition she had. She explained that when she was a child, she had an accident that killed her entire family. After the accident, Alethea was left all alone, so she began imagining a boy to keep her company. She could make him appear whenever she wanted and make him disappear just as easily. Over time, her imagination grew stronger, but it also got out of control, leading her to see many terrifying things. Because of this, Alethea thought the jinn might just be another part of her imagination, which is why she wasn't afraid of him. The jinn liked Alethea's story so much that he offered to grant her any 3 wishes. Alethea was still unsure about what the jinn meant. Before she could respond, the jinn transformed into a human and brought a lot of food for her. This made Alethea start to believe that he was truly a jinn. She became curious and asked him how he ended up in the bottle. She wanted to know more about the jinn's past and how long he had been trapped there. The jinn then shared his story. He explained that the main reason he became a jinn was to fulfill people's wishes. He revealed that he was once a human and was a cousin of the Queen of Sheba, who lived around 3,000 years ago. He admitted that he had fallen in love with her. Alethea interrupted, saying she had heard that the Queen of Sheba loved King Solomon, so how could the jinn love her? The jinn confirmed that it was true. The queen had fallen deeply in love with him first. But when King Solomon arrived in her kingdom, he brought a musical instrument. As soon as he played it, Queen fell madly in love with Solomon, forgetting the jinn. The jinn explained that Solomon was actually a magician who used the sound of his magical instrument to control the queen, making her love him. When Solomon and the queen grew close, he discovered the jinn's relationship with the queen. Solomon became very angry and, using his magic, trapped the jinn in the bottle and threw it into the sea. The jinn told Alethea that he had been locked inside the bottle for 2,500 years, suffering and trying desperately to escape, but he was unable to free himself. Alethea found the jinn's story very interesting, and it reminded her of the 3 wishes he had offered. Before making any wishes, she asked the jinn what a woman's heart truly desires. The jinn admitted that he didn't know and had always been foolish in such matters. Then, the jinn asked her if she had ever loved someone. Alethea replied that a long time ago, she loved a boy named Jack who studied at her university, but he was already in a relationship with another girl, so she let him go. However, the jinn's personal question made her wonder why he was getting so close. It made her recall an old story she had read, which said that after a jinn grants wishes, the person is never truly happy. So she asked the jinn if it was possible to not make any wishes at all. When Alethea said this, the jinn became restless, which made her realize that she would have to make a wish. But before doing so, she asked the jinn to tell her the rest of his story because she wanted to know what happened during the remaining 500 years. The jinn explained that after being trapped in the bottle for so long, dust had collected on it, turning it into stone, which eventually washed ashore. One day, a man found the bottle and placed it in a hole in the palace wall. The bottle stayed there for many days. Then one day, a girl climbed the palace wall to see her crush, Prince Mustafa. She fell, and the bottle fell with her, damaging its top. The stone broke, and the bottle fell into her hands, freeing the jinn. When she saw the jinn, she fainted out of fear. After she woke up, the jinn told her that he could grant her 3 wishes. She wished to marry Prince Mustafa, the son of King Suleiman. To fulfill her wish, the jinn made her as beautiful as an angel and cast a spell on Mustafa so that he would fall in love with her. Later, they hid the bottle together to keep it from being found by anyone else. The jinn began living in the same palace as the girl. One day, she told him that her second wish was to become the mother of Mustafa's child. Meanwhile, King Suleiman's second wife started turning the king against Mustafa because she disliked him intensely. Over time, King Suleiman also began to see his son in a negative light, influenced by his wife's constant provocations. Eventually, King Suleiman, driven by his wife's influence, ordered his son to be killed. The jinn explained that the girl had become very proud. She started seeing herself as a queen and treated everyone poorly, thinking she was superior because of the jinn's powers. One day, the jinn asked her about her final wish. She responded that she already had everything she wanted and would decide on her last wish later. But then the jinn told her that King Suleiman had killed Mustafa. On hearing this, the girl lost her mind and began running around the palace in tears. The jinn followed her, repeatedly asking her to make her last wish. Suddenly, a magical creature appeared and told the jinn that he couldn't force anyone to make a wish. Then, some soldiers arrived, captured the girl, and threw her into the water. After they left, the jinn pulled her out, but she had already died. Because her third wish was never fulfilled, the jinn became trapped in the palace. No one except the girl could see him, so he wandered the palace trying to speak with people, but no one could sense his presence. Years later, Prince Murad began to feel the jinn's presence. The jinn led Murad to the place where the bottle was hidden. However, just as Murad and his brother retrieved the bottle, their mother arrived and took them away. The jinn explained that Murad became king at the age of 14 after King Suleiman's death. As Murad grew older, his life was consumed by battles, but he could still sense the jinn's presence. Murad's brother Ibrahim was lazy and lived a life of luxury, which made Murad despise him. A storyteller used to entertain Murad, and the jinn would listen along with him. However, when the storyteller died, Murad lost his mind, as the man was the only source of happiness in his life. After Murad went mad, his mother made Ibrahim the king. One day, a maid of Ibrahim was bathing near the spot where the bottle containing the jinn was kept. She was heavy, and as a result, the bottle broke. The jinn re-entered the bottle, emerged again, and asked the maid to make 3 wishes. The maid, terrified, ordered the jinn to return to the bottle, and since he was bound to obey, complied. Once inside, the maid sealed the bottle and threw it into the sea, imprisoning the jinn once more. Back in the present, Alethea was still unsure of what wish to ask from the jinn, so she inquired about what happened next. The jinn told her that many years later, a 12-year-old girl named Zephyr, who was forced into marriage with an old businessman, found the bottle. Zephyr was unhappy with her life. One day, her husband discovered the bottle inside a fish and gifted it to her. Zephyr accidentally released the jinn from the bottle. When the jinn asked her for her wish, she requested knowledge as her first wish, as she loved learning. The jinn granted her wish, and she went on to make many inventions. When the jinn asked her about her second wish, she wished to understand every math problem. The jinn fulfilled this wish, allowing her to comprehend the electromagnetic field. During this time, the jinn fell in love with Zephyr and didn't want her to use her final wish. However, Zephyr's thirst for knowledge grew, and just as she was about to make her last wish, the jinn stopped her. This angered Zephyr, and in response, the jinn willingly returned to the bottle. Now, after many years, he had met Alethea. Now, we return to the present scene. After hearing the entire story, Alethea realized that what she truly wanted was the jinn. She told him that she had seen his deep love for Zephyr, and now she wanted him to love her just as much, because all a woman's heart desires is love. 3,000-year-old jinn immediately agreed and kissed the beautiful 30-year-old Alethea. With his love, her loneliness disappeared and she became happy. One day, Alethea told the jinn that she needed to go to London. The jinn transformed into a small bottle to accompany her. When they went through airport security, Alethea felt very nervous because the jinn was inside the bottle with her. But no alarms went off, and no officer noticed anything unusual, so they safely reached London. Once in London, the jinn explained that the electromagnetic field there was much stronger than in Istanbul. Since his body was made of electromagnetism, he could hear radio and TV signals, which greatly affected him. Alethea became very worried, but the jinn assured her that he would slowly adjust to this new frequency. They continued to enjoy each other's company and fell deeply in love. However, the jinn began to feel very sick inside, and he was in a lot of pain, but he didn't want to worry Alethea. One day, she found him in the basement, where his condition had worsened. She noticed that his body was starting to fall apart, and he couldn't speak. Alethea became extremely concerned and immediately made her second wish, asking the jinn to talk to her. As soon as she made the wish, the jinn started talking as if nothing was wrong. He assured Alethea that he was fine and that he loved her very much. Alethea told him that she loved him too and that her happiness depended on his. Then she made her third wish, asking for the jinn to be free and return to his world. After she made the wish, the bottle broke. They spent their last moments together, and then the jinn vanished. Afterward, Alethea took care of all his belongings. 3 years later, we see a scene where Alethea remembers the jinn as she watches a couple in the park. In those 3 years, she had written a book about their story called 3,000 Years of Longing. As she got up to leave, the jinn appeared to meet her. They were both overjoyed to see each other. This wasn't the first time. The jinn often came to visit Alethea because they loved each other very much. Film ends here.